This is the longtime rival of Sany and XCMG, the pride of Switzerland. Since its founding, it's consistently ranked in the top 3 for all-terrain single-purpose machines. Just the body kit alone costs over $140. Independent and unique, each wheel moves on its own path via electro-hydraulic control. Its flexible design handles everything from mountain drilling to underwater work, true all-terrain beast. The Muck version covers a large area, costs $400,000, and weighs 13.5 tons. It's powered by a 156 horsepower engine that delivers up to 40 to 8 hydraulic pressure. All 4 wheels can steer and drive independently. Its max operational reach extends up to 8 meters. It also packs a 9.5 ton pushing force. The overall structure benefits from a unique excavator style layout. Even the engine is mounted vertically behind the cab, instead of using the traditional side placement. That's why the axle becomes the biggest money burner of the entire build. First, a 30 kg steering cylinder is inserted. Then, upper and lower diameters are aligned. Once the inner shaft is in place, you can see the external steering setup supporting the all-terrain chassis. Reportedly, it uses a fixed rotation inner shaft, driven by both pneumatic and hydraulic systems, but to keep it stable, you need to lock in an extra 150 kg support bracket. Only after the steering mechanism is complete can you start assembling the chassis. Unlike regular excavators, this all-terrain machine doesn't use a one-piece large frame. Instead, it's modular, cutting down unnecessary steel plates wherever possible, simplifying complexity, like the 200 kg slewing ring now being installed, the result of hundreds of trial runs and iterations. It's not just about durability. Weight balance matters too. Even a slight imbalance on a slope can cause the whole thing to tip. As the slewing ring rotates, it aligns with the blue line marker. And that's when the engineer steps in with a tool that looks like a scale. A valve gauge tool is used to measure the gap between the interlocking gears in large machinery. There always needs to be a slight clearance. Typically, 0.1 to 0.4 millimeters is ideal. That's because it helps prevent overheating and seizure caused by friction. And when it comes to internal combustion engines, the tolerances are even stricter. Next, the large yellow cylinder is mounted into the chassis to support the excavator's main boom. The only difference here is that the cylinder is tucked inside, unlike most excavators where it's fully exposed. Of course, you could call that part of its all-terrain special design. As for standard excavators, they rarely focus this much attention on the chassis. Now they're installing the swing arm ring that connects the chassis to the wheels and boom. It weighs a solid 160 kilograms and is cast from a single piece of hardened alloy steel. Also, the installation process is pretty unique. First, workers grease the inner neck with yellow lubricant. Then they insert this weird-looking cone into it. This keeps the internal angle consistently vertical. The core part, even one person can install it with the help of tools. No team needed. Maybe it's the filming schedule, or maybe it's the holidays, but there were never more than 10 people on site. The video guy practically filmed the whole assembly solo. And to make it extra sturdy, there's a groove in the middle of the inner shaft. Once inserted, it locks perfectly in place, acting as a spacer. That way, it won't shift too far and fall off later. It also works like a buffering to prevent future displacement due to excessive movement. After installing the metal rod, they cap it with a stopper on the outside. Barring any surprises, this component will stay with the machine for life. Now let's follow the video again. They're diving into a topic that was top secret just a few years ago. China's earliest all-terrain excavators were actually fully tested by the military. Most of the engineers involved back then have now retired. Its first public debut was around 2010. That's when outsiders even found out it existed. And when XCMG revealed it publicly, Europe filed a lawsuit claiming they'd copied the design years ago. Not gonna hype or hate. Back then, it was basically just like any regular excavator. Most of the core components were imported. If you only look at the current equipment, the tech is definitely solid. But we're talking about back in the day. Just look at the excavator boom in this video. The design is crazy complicated. The whole machine weighs 13 tons. but looks surprisingly compact. And each leg of the chassis has to be fitted with 3 hydraulic cylinders. That means you need 12 valve sets and 12 sets of hydraulic lines. And each of the 4 wheels has its own motor for independent control. That's how they pull off those precise steering moves. Anyone who's tried simulating hydraulic systems knows what's up. Just managing the logic for front and rear flow is brain-melting. And on top of that, it's all manual control. Newbies wouldn't dare touch the controls, even today. Most factories don't treat all-terrain excavators as a mainline product to develop. Why? The cost. Straight up. Each all-terrain excavator sells for €400,000. That's over $40,000. So props to the XCMG veterans, seriously impressive. You have to remember, before the year 2000, even regular excavators were rare in China, let alone something this advanced. Those pioneers were basically working 9-9-7 9 p.m. 7 days a week. Every single part had to be strength tested one by one. Nowadays, that level of dedication is hard to imagine for most companies. Just look at Switzerland's Menzi Muck, a top player in all-terrain. Watch how the 4 wheels work together in perfect sync. No matter how bumpy the outside gets, the inside stays stable like a rock, especially when dropping into a 3-meter trench. The front wheels actually fold inward. And the smoothness? Insane. Not even a hint of the sluggishness you'd expect from a typical excavator. Watch closely. Now the 4 wheels are all moving in different directions. If I tried explaining this hydraulic assist system to you, you'd probably think I was just making stuff up. But hear me out. The latest generation of Chinese-made excavators actually showed up in the Wandering Earth a few years back. So yeah, with that kind of spotlight, doesn't it make you think twice about their value? The military began developing these machines decades ago, mainly in response to tensions with India. Around the year 2000, XCMG broke new ground and took the machines up to the Tibetan Plateau for testing. The idea was to support border infrastructure in the southwest, mainly for building at high-altitude border zones. As for the losses mentioned earlier, well, those weren't totally avoidable. China was still just starting out back in those days. Since it was for internal military use, it wasn't public anyway. The infringement accusations that only came up around 2010, when the designs finally went public. Still, for a state-owned company from a regional city to rank in the global top 5 within just a few decades, huge flex. Good thing XCMG didn't sell out to foreign companies. Otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing China's speed in action today. Meanwhile, India still looks like ants on a hot plate, and China's infrastructure game like something out of a SCI-FI base on Mars. You gotta realize, this is an oxygen-deprived high-altitude zone. Excavation can only be done by machines. Our soldiers need to be training with spiked clubs, not shovels. Next up, the seats installed. Nothing fancy about the seat itself, but the gear lever, that's a whole other story. It adjusts the angle automatically, based on how steep the excavator is leaning. Now, let's head to an actual worksite in Switzerland and see the machine in action. This excavator is working on a 45-degree slope, with a vertical drop of over 1,000 meters. One wrong move, and it's total wreckage. Lives lost. And yet, in this extreme terrain, the machine still needs to drill into the mountainside. That's why making an all-terrain excavator was, early on, just as hard as building a missile. It's not just about moving, it's about keeping your balance. Next, they install the cabin to keep balance optimized. They cut out any unnecessary weight wherever they can. Otherwise, one steep angle plus too much load equals disaster. Easy tip over. No recovery. One tilt too far and it's game over. Now, they're securing the cab to the chassis frame. A few solid bolts not only lock the cab frame securely in place, but also make future maintenance way easier. From the outside, it looks like just a metal plate supporting it all. But you gotta wonder, can it really hold up? Now, they're getting ready to install another massive part. The tires, which literally carry the whole machine. These aren't your average wheels, they're huge. And the bolts, totally different from your typical truck. These are fixed from the inside. That makes it easier to check or swap them out as needed. If something ever comes loose, you'll catch it right away. And now, time to see this beast in action. So this monster excavator costs over $400,000. What do you think you'd use it for?